Hey guys, Mumford and Kitty here. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome back to the Opinion Spot. No, it's been a while with the Opinion Spot, but Opinion Spot week kicks off once again like I did last time, and I gave you basically retrospect in terms of last time in celebration of the Avengers cartoon. For the first season, I gave you great shows. I talked about some of the great cartoon shows from the past, like X-Men, Spider-Man the animated series, Batman the animated series, Superman, things like that. So I am again in retrospect for the success of Young Justice, the second season of the Avengers, the really rising of the Green Lantern animated series, and all the other cartoon animated shows that are out. Yes, even Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay. So here I am once again doing this again. And the first cartoon that I'm going to talk about is the Incredible Hulk 90s series, which ran from 1996 to 1997. The official run date was September 8th, 1996 to November 23rd, 1997. It had a number of 2 seasons that aired 21 episodes. 13 episodes for the first season, 9 for the second season. Oh, excuse me, 8, excuse me. 8 for the second season. This was done under the UPN Studios network at the time, and this was a predecessor to this would be the third Hulk cartoon from its predecessor. The Hulk first had its original 1966 cartoon series that many of our parents watched when they were children, to of course the classic 1970s live action Bill Bixby cartoons series that was pretty much starred Lou Ferrigno and people like that. And then, of course, the 1980s, which had a total of 13 episodes as well. This series here, as animated-wise, really was good, especially the first season. The first season really showcased what the Hulk universe and the trials and tribulation that Dr. Robert Bruce Banner went through to kind of in his quest to exercise himself from the being known as the Hulk. In this series as well, Lou Ferrigno would come back to voice the Hulk in this, so it was really good to see. The first season had a really deep, dark tone, and I like that. I like the darker tone. It really had that great science fiction, action adventure, but dramatic feel to the series that I really enjoyed. Robert Bruce Banner was voiced by Neil McDowell, who did an excellent job as Bruce Banner. He really made us feel the trials and tribulation of him when he would get angry or just feel a lot of stress. He would really portray that, trying to, keep that beast, as he would put it, inside of him. But in terms, it would happen, he would come out. So the series really began with Bruce Banner already established as a Hulk. They would show a backstory of how he became the Hulk, and that was cool. I didn't mind that. That's kind of how many of us fans should really enjoy sometimes. They don't need to go deep into the origin, especially if we know the character's origin so well, but play it off in a backstory, which is really good. He's on the run by the military, as focused in the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby early runs. The military was pretty much the Hulk's biggest enemy. And plus, we had, of course, the leader as also the villain as well. He would plague the Hulk because he wanted the Hulk's power. He was very much like his comic book counterpart, but except for him having servants like the Gargoyle, who was voiced by Mark Hamill, and his Gamma Warriors. And in this series, in this version, the Abomination was he kind of created the Abomination from Hulk's DNA, which was okay, but we started to hear later on they started to call him by his name, Blonsky. The leader was voiced by Matt Fewer voiced him, and it was fun. The series also played up what we all wanted to see. Bruce Banner's loyal friend, Rick Jones. Rick Jones was a very key element in the first season. Luke Perry would voice him, and he did a very good job voicing Rick Jones. He played Rick Jones as this James Dean biker rebel with an attitude, for the cause, always loyal to his friend, and of course Betty Ross was in there. And she was voiced in the first season. There were two actresses that voiced her. The first season she was voiced by Jeannie Francis, and then in the second season, Phyllis Sampler, basically. She would voice her. The first season, she really played the role very well as Betty. Betty trying to keep, her beloved Bruce Banner, but also caring about the Hulk. Also caring about the Hulk in a way. And alongside Betty, we saw Doc Samson. Doc Samson would come in this, and he would really be a very, very good opposition to fight along with Betty. He would be his comic counterpart as well. Doc Samson was played by Shando Stevensons, and he would be the scientist as well as the superhero act of Doc Samson. And then, of course, you had General Ross. Ross and his General Talbot. Ross, would be played by John Vernon, and General Talbot by Kevin Shitton. That really they would plague the character of Bruce Banner. We saw a lot of this in the first season. The first season had a really dark tone, but it really gave us a sense of what the Hulk was about. Now, this series really kept continuity of the Marvel animated universe, so we saw a lot of guest stars in the first season. For example, we saw guest stars like the Wendigo was in this. The Hulk fought the Wendigo, and that was in the episode called and the Cry Wins Wendigo. That was a good episode when pretty much Hulk was in the Canadian wilderness, which was cool. We also saw Ghost Rider guest star in the episode, and the Dan Kench version, and they pretty much General Talbot had the penance stare done to him. That was a really good episode, guys, because first of all, Rick Jones really, kind of stopped the Ghost Rider in his tracks. Basically he's telling him, the Hulk doesn't want to hurt anybody, leave him alone, and he's actually grabbing the motorcycle of the Ghost Rider, and Ghost Rider realizes that the brimstone flames of his motorcycle are not burning Rick Jones, and that was really cool. So he kind of sided with the Hulk. We saw Iron Man and War Machine guest star, and that was an episode called Helping Hand Iron Fist. It's not who we thought, and I thought it was going to be Iron Fist, but we saw that really good. S.H.I.E.L.D. played a real big role in this as well. But instead of having Nick Fury, we saw Nick have his original right hand man in this, Gabriel Jones, and his squad of Hulkbusters. Sasquatch would also guest star in this, in an episode called Man to Man, Beast to Beast, and Peter Strutus would play Walter Landowski, and late when he became the Sasquatch, Clancy Brown would play Sasquatch, and that was once again when Hulk would be in Canada again, and that was cool. My favorite of the guest stars was when, here's a couple, when Doom guest starred on there. Simon Templeman replaced his voice as Dr. Doom, and of course when Thor guest starred on there. Thor was voiced by a great actor by the name of, if you don't know the name, here's the name right here, John Rhys Davis. He did a fantastic job as Thor. He guest starred in there when there was an epidemic in Detroit, a gamma epidemic, and they needed Dr. Banner to cure this gamma radiated plague that was going along in this, and that was really good. We also got to see his alter ego, Donald Blake, and of course the Thing would come back in this episode, and once again this is the same continuity of what happened in the Fantastic Four series. We saw that the Hulk and his cousin, who was She-Hulk at the time, really come to the Big Apple to find a cure for Hulk again. The first season was really about trying to cure Dr. Banner. And when She-Hulk first guest starred as Jennifer Walters on the episode, the first actress to voice her was, oh boy, her name was, oh my god, I'm forgetting the name. I had it too. Lisa Zane. Lisa Zane voiced She-Hulk in the first season, and I thought they should have kept her because she really had that very more sensational She-Hulk act going down better. And then later on in the second season, Cree Summers would take over as the voice, and let's just say I wasn't a big fan of that. That was one of my favorite episodes. How they did She-Hulk's origin in the first season was a good retrospect to her comic origin, and that was fun. And we really got to see a lot. And in the last season, the season finale, Rick Jones falls into a radiation solution Neutrogen bath, which was used to separate Bruce and the Hulk, and Rick soaked in enough to gamma radiation to become a teenage Hulk version himself. And Rick is later, that's how it ended in the season finale of the first season. Rick, and also in the first season, General Ross had a nervous breakdown, and he's pretty much hospitalized for pretty much the rest of the season. And it's pretty much, that's how it's pretty much ended in the first season. The first season really had that really darker tone to it, like I said, guys, and that really kind of was good. But for the network, the UPN network, they felt that that was too darker tone for a cartoon series, and they decided for the second season to lighten the tone of it, and that's when the second season became more of, it was called The Incredible Hulk and She-Hulk, and they made She-Hulk a original cast member. And they also would play, they would also have the Grey Hulk in this as well in the second season. Uh, here was the problem I had with the second season of the series. Okay, but aside from some small continuity from the previous season, the season had very little ongoing story arcs. For example, General Ross was hospitalized throughout the whole season until the end of the series. The Gargoyle pretty much displayed his attraction for She-Hulk. Betty Ross playing no active role anymore except for being, Bruce's love interest at some times. Banner be more quick-witted and, really more serene instead of no longer being hunted by the army. And of course, Grey Gargoyle, the Grey Hulk, fighting with the Green Hulk for control in Banner's mind, and sometimes like that. The only other superhero guest star in this season was Doctor Strange. And that was pretty much one of my favorite episodes in the second season because I thought it was really funny that She-Hulk kept messing up his name and he would have to correct her. No, Strange. And she would say Dr. Peculiar and stuff like that. I thought that was funny. But other than that, there was really no continuity from the first season. It became really lighter tone, from a lot of episodes. And really, She-Hulk really became the main focus in this episode, and especially in this lighter tone season. And that's not a bad thing, but the way they did it was bad, guys, for me, because, a lot of the episodes just really was bad to me. And a lot of episodes really rushed, including the series conclusion. Heavily rushed on a happy note, in a way, with Ross finally emerging from his coma and deciding to end his hostility towards Bruce. At the time, remember, Bruce is married to Betty in this, and he wants to really, succeed in kind of restoring some kind of, logic and some kind of normancy with his son-in-law. Also in season 2, which I forget to mention, Rick Jones was gone. After he was cured in the beginning of the second season, he was gone. He was gone. And that bothered me. That was like, oh God, like, come on, like, really? Like, they could have did more. And that lighter tone really bothered me. I think, you could see that, in retrospect, also the ratings, because it only had 8 episodes for the second season, and, it just really bothered me. So when you look at the season 1 versus the second season, let's look at it. The first season had exceptional dark in storytelling, but it had story arcs with ending ever bittersweet and downbeat, with notable exceptions. These exceptions came in the form of the episode of Doom, where in the end, Jennifer embraces and jokes about her new stat as She-Hulk. Of course, the supernatural Ghost Rider guest star in there. Then, of course, with all the good darker tone episodes and story arcs in the first season, but then you have the lighter tone second season, which was reportedly as a request by the network UPN. They requested that. So right there, they got their request. Doc Samson, nowhere to be found. Rick Jones, nowhere. The Gamma cave dwellers, the cave dwellers were these desert creatures that were also, when the Gamma bomb was ignited and caused Bruce Banner to become Hulk, there were these animals out in the desert that were also plagued, and they would be pretty much good friends with Bruce and Rick Jones and company, and they would help out a lot. They were gone. Betty, even lesser and important character. The leader, the leader became, not a big adversary in this season. His final appearance, if I'm not mistaken, was the episode called Fashion Warriors. That really bothered me. So yeah, it was, in retrospect, guys, if you want to talk about, but I'm talking about the whole series as a whole, but if you want to think about it, it's the first season that really was the best. But that wouldn't be the end of the Hulk and She-Hulk. I mean, both characters the Hulk would return in the animation in the Ultimate Avengers direct-to-DVD movies. Hulk and She-Hulk would guest star on the Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes cartoon. I love the She-Hulk's episode. That was really pretty much well done. And of course, Hulk would appear in Wolverine, the X-Men. Rick would appear in, if I'm not mistaken, Iron Man Armored Adventures. And of course, Hulk would be a main character in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. As for DVD releases, they did not release a DVD in the States, really, if I'm not mistaken. They've only released like maybe 4 episodes of the series, but that was about it. But other than that, guys, the series was good. I'm not saying it was bad, but the first season is really where it was at. The first season really was where we saw the good, that the retrospect of what the comics were like, especially like later on when Peter David took over and people like that. It really had that feel of the darker toned and things like that. But the second season really kind of hurt. It really hurt the series, guys. But it was a good Marvel cartoon back in the 90s. I cannot disrespect that and say it wasn't. But like I said, my favorite episodes pretty much were the episodes in the first season. A lot when guest stars were on there, and when we saw Hulk being Hulk, showcasing him as a hero at times, and retrospect of that classic Hulk feel from Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's run. Always on the run, running from the army and S.H.I.E.L.D., but it was good, so to speak. But you guys tell me how you felt about the Incredible Hulk 90s animated series. Did you like it? Are you on par with how I felt about it? The first season was the best, while the second season kind of was iffy. But it's kind of funny because the second season won an Emmy for Best Audio. But other than that, how do you guys feel about this season? I want to hear from you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed the first day of the Incredible Hulk. The first day of Opinion Spot Week. You guys take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.